You're tuning into the Wild, Weird, and Sometimes Normal podcast. If you have a story or a guest recommendation that you think others need to hear, email me at wildweirdandsometimesnormal@gmail.com. Let's get this started. Alex and Brett, kick it!
Wild. Wild. Weird. And sometimes wild. Weird. Wild. Weird. Wild. Weird. Wild. Weird. And sometimes normal.
On this episode, I'm joined by Joe McCarthy of Rusty Pigeon. But sometimes he goes by Rusty Pigeon when he plays solo. But the Rusty Pigeon account has pics of the band and Joe playing solo, and then also pics of his family. It may be easier to list all the ways to use jawn than it is to pigeonhole the punk rock of Rusty Pigeon. But just as jawn is Philly as fuck, so is Rusty Pigeon. Born and raised in South Philly, Joe is quintessential Philly, and we cover it all, even him moving out to the Jersey suburbs recently. Anyway, more punk rock and less rambling. I randomly met Joe in an Ocean City restaurant because I was wearing a Cross Keys shirt. Turns out he's friends with those dudes and plays a lot of Josh's solo shows. We cover him getting into music, skateboarding, whiskey, living amongst the trees, basketball, taking your kids to shows and watching them stage dive, and circle back to what's coming up in the future. Give Rusty Pigeon a follow and let Joe know you heard him on Wild and Weird. Enjoy the show. Are you looking to buy a home in New Jersey, escape the city and move to the suburbs? Finally purchase a vacation home on the lake or down the shore? Maybe you're one of the lucky ones who are retiring and moving out of state. If so, let me help you. Keller Williams and the Real Estate Professional Group have what you need to make your goals come true. Reach out and have a conversation with someone who will put you first. Contact Brian McCoach at 856-321-1212 or email brianmccoach@kw.com. Are you looking for CBD for your pet? My friends at Pure Pet Wellness have what you need. They use the highest quality ingredients. While other companies may use synthetic oils in their CBD, Pure Pet Wellness uses organic ingredients, organically grown hemp, organic coconut oil, organic shea butter, organic beeswax, and that's just to name a few. A family-owned and operated company that also offers fast shipping. Go to purepetwellness.com for all your pet's CBD needs and use the discount code WILD and WEIRD at checkout. That's wild, A-N-D, weird. Treat your animal right. Go to purepetwellness.com. Welcome to another episode of Wild, Weird, and Sometimes Normal. I'm your host, Brian, and tonight my guest is Joe McCarthy, also known as Rusty Pigeon, a musician from Philadelphia. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, what's up, Bri? Good to see you again.
Hey, dude, I appreciate you coming on, man. This is great. We had some back and forth for a couple weeks, couple months, but we finally nailed this down.
Yeah, a lot of phone tag and text tag and all that shit. So.
Yeah, it's tough, man. You got the family, you got the kids, you got the life going on.
Chaos. It's chaos over here.
It's nonstop.
It never stops, dude.
So, it's late summer, 2023. I'm in Ocean City with my family for the day. I've got my Cross Keys band shirt on. I interviewed Josh, lead singer of them, for my podcast. And I'm trying to sit down at Augie's, this small little, 15, 20 table restaurant in Ocean City. Awesome. But hey, don't go there. If I show up, I don't want to wait. So only 18 new people can go. But you show up, it's pretty good food. It's awesome. And I'm trying to get my kids wrangled and everything. And like in the back of my ear, I hear somebody like saying like, hey. And I'm trying to focus on this. And I kind of look up and this guy, you look, hey man, I like your shirt. And I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm trying to sit down. You're like, dude, I have that shirt. I'm like, I finally look down and see what I have. I'm like, dude, he's got to be mistaken. Like, there's Cross Keys Road in New Jersey. There's a bunch of things going on. I'm like, yeah. And so it actually turns out that, like, Josh, you've opened up for Josh, you've played with these guys. Like, just such a small world that in Ocean City at that moment to run into each other.
Yeah, and I had to say something to you, man. I'm like, that's like, they're my dudes. Like, if it wasn't for Josh, Bo, Andrew, Dave, all them guys, I probably wouldn't have been playing anymore. They took me under their wing when I was like, when I was down and out about playing. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this no more. They let me open up their record release a few years back. I think it was 2018 or 19. But yeah, them dudes are always been solid. Like Josh is like, That's my brother. That's my Filipino brother. Like me and him. I was just talking to him last night. We're talking about booking a show in February too. So it's like I kind of like a lot of the times he plays solo, I play with him. So it's like that's like we went up to North Jersey one time this well actually not North yeah where'd we go? Jersey City. We played a show up there one time, me, him, and some other guy. And if you want me to get into it, I'll get into it a little bit. You want me to just keep talking, right?
Let's go. Yeah, you're the star of the show, man. People have heard me enough, man. You're it.
So he went up to this show up there. Josh is like, Josh don't drive, so he's like, yeah, let's go do the show. I think that's one of the reasons why he books me on shows is I drive. I don't drive in places. So, but we have a great relationship, man. He's a great dude, and we went up to North Jersey. It was just like a brewery where everybody just wanted to drink and talk, and no one wanted to fucking pay attention. And like I kind of like the way I do things. I like being the center of attention. I got a lot of stupid shit to say, and kind of like my lyrics are on a little jokey side. So it's like if people are listening, they'll get it and they'll like it. But if like they're not, it's just like that environment for Josh. It's cool because he has that. He could just do that with a bunch of people talking. Kind of like he could just be background noise. The other dude to play does the same shit. I'm just like standing on a fucking chair, like yelling at the top of my lungs. I had like two dudes in the back, like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, they're my two dudes. That's who I'm talking to right now. So
yeah,
I just focused the rest of the set on them. But that was a good show. It was a good time. But like, would love to actually do more shows like that with Josh and other people, just like kind of going outside of like Philly and, other places. So
yeah, he's a really cool dude. So I like Dave Hawes. And he was doing the Singers Home Festival.
Yeah.
So, I was following him on Twitter and all this stuff. And then when I saw the opening band, I was like, oh, let me check out some of these guys. And Cross Keys are on there. I followed them. And they followed me back right away. I was like, dude, like, what the fuck? Oh, okay. So, and then like just going back and forth. And I was like, well, let me see if these guys are around. And they show up. And Josh went to Cherry Hill East. And then I have some buddies that went there. And actually, a good friend of mine would hang out with Josh's younger brother and skate with him. So I was like, what a small... like just a small world. Like, so
wait, who's a good friend of yours? Because like Josh's younger brother was I grew up skating with him. I knew him before I knew Josh. I had no idea. Like his brother and his buddy Richie that I hung out with all the time. And I'm like, I met Josh later in life, and I'm like, how the fuck did I know you guys were brothers? Like, because I used to hang out with his brother like consistently skating like Love Park and City Hall when we were kids. So I don't know. I might know him.
Yeah, maybe if you saw him or whatever.
That probably crossed paths because if he skated with him, it was like I used to run into them dudes all the time, and like Josh's brother and Richie were like inseparable, and like they were together all the time. I think they might have worked at Whole Foods together. I know Richie did, but I don't know if he did. But
yeah. Just as I was talking to Josh, and he was like, "Oh, Cherry Hill East," and it popped in my head that my buddy, he was like, "Oh, he was playing this like shitty punk band, like a garage band," and so I just brought up to Josh, and he's like, "Dude, I know that name." He's like, "I actually know his sister," and then like going back and talking, "Oh, I know." I forget his brother's name at this minute, but I was like, oh, I know his brother. But crazy, man. Such a small world.
Yeah, dude. It fucking is. Especially in the punk scene, dude. You're always going to know somebody. And even like where I grew up in Southwest Philly. So it was like, I still run into people. And like, I always felt like it was a really small like area. People didn't know. It's like, if you grew up in Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lived the first like 21 years of my life in Southwest Philly. And it was like, you figure a lot of people from there moved to South Jersey or Delaware County, and but it's every once in a while I'll be in a random spot and just run into somebody from Southwest Philly, and it's pretty wild. So, but that was a short time in my life that I lived. Well, not short time. The whole beginning of my life. Then I moved over to South Philly. So,
yeah. So how'd you get started in music? Like, what was it? Like, what were your influences? Like, you?
I'm going to go way back with the influence. So my dad played guitar and sang when I was younger. He died when he was 33. So I was 7 years old, but I always kind of carried that with me, kind of like wanting to be like my dad, wanting to be a singer songwriter. My dad had a really good voice, which I did not get. So it's like, but I still like, it's like, I feel like I kind of got the like songwriting thing from him. Like I could write a song in a minute, it's like, and I just play regular, now it's just like cowboy chords and like, just strumming and shit. But that was basically my first influence with music. But I always been into music. It's like, starting way back when I was like little, listening to like Roger Miller, like, with, like, on the Robin Hood soundtrack, the Disney soundtrack. So it's like, love like Roger Miller when I was really little, and got a little bit older, got into like my dad loved the Beatles. I never got into the Beatles, but I got into like Springsteen at a young age. So like Born in the USA, it was like came out what 84, 85. So I was roughly like 8 years old when it came out. And just like remember like that young of an age wanting to be like Springsteen, wearing white t-shirts and jeans and putting a bandana in my back pocket until I got older and figured out it was a hat in his back pocket. So it's like,
Yeah. I've been living a lie. You're like,
yeah,
oh.
yeah. Motherfucker had a hat the whole time. So fucking trick me. But yeah, but that and then like, I got into metal like after that. It was like kind of like, when I found my own music, it was like fucking Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica, all that stuff. And I went to Catholic school, and it was kind of frowned upon to be, into that kind of music there because of the nuns and shit, and they would give me shit for it. Like I'll never forget the time I came in. They're like, "Oh, it's the end of the year. Bring your music in, whatever you want to listen to." So this is the '80s. You bring in like a stack of tapes with your cassette player, your Walkman, and like you know how that is. And so I come in, and I have a stack of tapes on my desk. Slayer, Carnivore, all this shit. She's like, the nun's like, I don't want you kids bringing any of that Satan worshiper music in. And everybody turns around and looks at me, dude. I'm like this little kid that's like listening to music, so I like it, and I'm just they made me feel like an asshole. But
Yeah.
I had the jean jacket with the metal patches and the pins and all that shit. But it was like I stuck out like a sore thumb in Catholic school. Just put it that way. But I like it like that. I always liked it like that.
A nonconformist in Catholic school. I went there to Catholic school, not yours, from first and second grade, then third grade did public, then back to fourth, and then fifth grade on, I did public, but CCD up through eighth grade. And looking back on it now, yours was more like overt, like discrimination is like the wrong word, but like, the woman, the nun not appreciating like who you were for like who you are.
Well, she fucking
very
believes in
judgy.
the devil too. So it's like, I mean, what are you gonna?
Yeah. He's the devil worshiper. Like what? Like,
Yeah.
I'm already
If you
damned.
believe in the fucking devil when you're a grown woman.
Yeah. So it just makes it's a judgy place. It's it's tough. I think sometimes it's good for like the regiment of like kids to follow things, and then also the constant like, hey, if you don't do this, you're gonna go to hell, can like be overbearing sometimes.
Yeah, dude, Catholic school ruined me. It's like, I mean, it didn't like, I mean, like, it was like, it just, as like, I'm not a practicing Catholic. I'll never be, I'm not like Christian, none of that shit. I don't raise my kids that way. I never had them baptized, which I got shit for from my mom. And I was like, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm not going to do something that I don't do. My mom barely ever went to church. My dad did. My dad sang in choir. Like he was a big church dude. And when he passed away, my mom was like, oh, go to church. Here's an envelope. I'm like, drop the envelope off, run out and play with my friends. Or you get a little bit older, you're like, oh shit, there's money in this envelope. We can go buy potato chips and shit with this, like,
Yeah.
like fuck
Still
God.
drop the envelope and maybe take out what's inside. You're like, hey mom, I dropped the envelope. You don't want to come home to my grandmother used to pull out. So for a couple of years we lived in Kensington. That's where my mom grew up. And my grandmother pulled out this boat oar from underneath the couch. And she's like, if you guys ever act up, like I did this to your aunt and uncle and your mom, she's like, I'll do this to you. And like, we never acted up. It's like, Jesus, like that reach. So you never want to lie. So it's like, hey, drop this envelope. Like, hey, I dropped the envelope. Don't worry.
And it's crazy because the generation we grew up in, as soon as she said she pulled out a boat oar, I'm like, I knew where the story was going.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting your ass beat with that fucking
Yeah.
boat oar.
She didn't want to mess around like a spaghetti spatula or anything like that. Like that was too close combat. She's like, I got a 10-foot reach on this boat oar. No matter how fast you think you are, you're going to get whacked.
Now that I think of it, like it kind of reminded me like a little bit, it's like kind of like around the same thing, but it wasn't necessarily getting beat. But my mom was like raising 4 kids on her own. And she's like, just like looking back at some of the shit she did, I kind of get it. Cause like we were assholes. Like, no, she had like 4 kids that were like in grade school, some higher, we were in the higher grades. My brother and sister were in the younger grades. I had a tail, like, fucking an 80s rat tail. Like, my head was shaved rat tail. And we weren't allowed to have hair past the collar in Catholic school. So I'm like, I come home, I'm like, Mom, I got to get this cut off. I told her the day before. And, my mom's working like 3 jobs. She's a medical assistant working at UPS. She's bartending. She's doing all kinds of shit. And she's like, I was like, Mom, I got to get this cut off. I got to get this cut off the day before. The next morning, I wake up like complaining, like, Mom, I got to get this cut off. I'm going to get yelled at by the teachers. They're going to pull me by it. Because the one nun did, she would yank it. So my mom was like getting us all ready. Never forget this shit. She's getting us ready. She's like, come here for a minute. You want it off? You want it? Because I kept complaining. She grabs it, gets a fucking steak knife, and just saws the fucking rat tail off me. It just sends me on my way. Like, go to school. I'm like, God damn it. I
Yeah.
started feeling like red, like, oh my God, dude. But I'm like looking back on it, I'm like, fuck yeah, I was an asshole.
Yeah. It's funny because even just doing through this almost like a therapy sometimes. Like there's like thoughts will pop in your head. And I'm like, shit, man, I haven't thought about that in 20, 30, whatever years.
Yeah.
And, I have this like, everyone has rose colored glasses of like your childhood. And, I knew I wasn't great. But sometimes I'm like, oh my God, was I an asshole? Like, I can't believe it. Like, I definitely deserved whatever my parents dished out to me and probably definitely more. But sometimes you just look back, like, no, I was a good kid. What are you talking about? And like I see my kids now, I'm like, why are you guys acting up? As they're doing like 1/10 of whatever I did.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. Our kids are probably way better than we were. I know they were. They are. My kids are way better than I was when I was a kid.
yeah,
And I have a
it's just funny.
21-year-old, I have a 21-year-old son, and I'm like, just seeing how he grew up, I'm like, dude, like he's killing it compared to where I was, you know?
Yeah.
So I was a good
Before
dropout. So he's like,
well, before we started recording, we were talking about our kids' sports and everything. And like, so my son, he's in fourth grade. I didn't start playing organized sports till fourth grade. So he's been playing stuff since before kindergarten. And
oh
it's
yeah.
just crazy. Like we didn't even have that opportunity. We didn't have those leagues, just watching both of them, my daughter's in basketball, my son's in basketball now, and just like running about and doing that stuff. It's just like every season there's something you can get. There's specialists. There's all like as much money as you want to dish out. Like obviously someone's willing to take it, but there is somebody who can,
Yeah.
quote unquote, help you get better.
Yeah, we're just getting emails now for like, oh, you want to play winter soccer? I'm like, we just ended the soccer season. We're playing basketball. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, yeah, like when I was younger, it was like I started playing grade school football when I was in like fourth grade. And like before that, I mean, yeah, we played like pal soccer like around the same time, but it was all around. I thought, yeah, it was all around the same time. Like my daughter is taking like dance and ballet, and she's taking like advanced classes now because she's like really catching on to it. And it's like wild to see like a 6-year-old get that much into like dance. Like she just danced in the local parade. There was a Halloween parade, and she's dancing with like older girls and stuff too. Like she wakes up the other morning, they had like a late start at school. She's doing like yoga exercises on YouTube. I'm like, hell yeah. Like this is
Yeah,
awesome, you know?
that's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, she's like, Dad, like, I come in the room and she gets all like embarrassed. I'm like, don't be embarrassed. I was like, I'll do the stretches with you. So I start doing some of these yoga stretches with her. I'm like, Jesus, man, I really got to get back to yoga because this is, like, I'm like, especially like working construction and like my back, my neck, like just like, that between that and being an old skateboarder, it's just, I'm fucked.
None of
So
that's adding up for like body success. A lot of wear and tear going on it.
I feel like I'm doing fairly okay. I mean, like, I'm not completely crippled, but
Do you ever
it's
see a
that
skateboard now? Do you ever see like a skateboard now? And you're like, oh, I can let me jump on this. Let me show these kids something.
I do, believe it or
Yeah.
not. Like I have a skateboard, I have a skateboard in my truck most of the time, a basketball and a skateboard. And there's a little skate park around here, and it's like I don't like skating when people are there, but I will cruise around. Like I don't really get nuts with doing tricks, but like it's like one of them things. It's like I'll get like a half hour on a skateboard and I feel great. Just like it takes me back, and it's kind of like it's almost like it's like therapy for me. And I don't do it as much as I want to, but it's like always like I'll never not be a skateboarder. Like it's like always like I have skateboards hanging on my wall and shit, like, still.
That's
So
awesome, man. Yeah. That's how I am with basketball. Like if I can just get like 10 minutes outside and just shoot around and kind of like drift off in my own mind and just get some shots up. Like it's just
yeah.
therapeutic. It's what I did all growing up. Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing with me too. Like basketball is like kind of like my saving grace right now. Well, it was like, I want to get into some personal shit, like where like I had a minor stroke a year and a half ago. It wasn't when I ran into you. It was a year before that. It's right before we went to Ocean City. I had a small vessel stroke and I was in the hospital for a day. And we went to the shore like the next day. Like, it's just kind of like it was like one of them things that was like there was no like long-term damage. It was like, but it was scary as shit. So like I went through all that, and it was just like after like it was like 2 months, I felt okay, and I took a break from work for a little bit, and then I had a really bad panic attack, and my anxiety just went through the roof. Like I was in a bad spot. Like I would not be talking to you right now if this was like was it 2021, I guess, or at the end of 2021? Or no, no, 2022. Because yeah, the end of last year, around this time last year, my head was like just like I was fucking in a bad spot, like a spot I'd never been in my life. Like depression, anxiety, agoraphobia. Like I was in bad shape, and it was like I was
Yeah.
never like I'm an outgoing person. This is how I am all the time, like talking, just like getting out. I started my own business and all that shit, and just doing my thing. And but going back to basketball, it kind of like when I started getting better, the like when I could drive to certain spots, I was like, all right, I'll drive here and play basketball for a little bit. And that's what I would do. I would get out, either like take a walk, like take a mile walk and come back home, or I would drive to the basketball court and just shoot the basketball around and stuff. But it kind of like helped me get back to like feeling normal again. But it was like it's something I like to do now. It's just to get out there. I always keep a basketball in my car. I always keep a skateboard in my car. So
Yeah, man. That's good. So do you mind talking about your stroke a little bit, or you want to move on,
no,
or whatever?
no, I can talk about it.
Yeah. So like what happened? Like, you woke up, or what was going
So
on?
I'll give you a whole rundown. It was like I had a really bad virus. Like it was like maybe like lasted like 4 days, had a really bad fever, but there was no other symptoms, just fever, bad fever, take a Motrin to get the fever down. After the virus went away, after the fever went away, I started getting these crazy headaches. And it was just kind of like every once in a while, like I'd wake up and like my head was just like, I was like, it was like a weird pain. It was like just on the one side of my head. And I'm like, what? And I never get headache. I never got headaches my whole life. It's, like the only time I ever had headaches is when I was like, my eyes were like in bad shape and I had to get glasses. It was like, just like, front, like, the front of my head headaches, nothing crazy. But this was like, just like something I never felt before. And I was like, so it lasted a couple of days. I went to urgent care. Urgent care was like, you know what? You had some sinusitis. There's some like some remnants of like what you had sinusitis, blah blah blah, and like that's probably all it is. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I go home, and 2 days later, after I went to urgent care, I get a droopy eye. My eyes drooping, and I was like, this isn't cool. Like this is so. I was like, we went to the ER, and the ER was like, blood pressure, everything, blood work, everything checked out, everything was good. CAT scan came back fine, so they're like sent me home like, yeah, it's Bell's palsy. It's probably from the virus yet. Sinusitis, they said that could cause that too. So I'm like, all right. That went away in like a day, or a couple days, a few days it took to go away, but that went away. I'm like, all right, probably not a stroke, So I'm like, I feel like that week after that, I'm getting like this knot in the back of my head, my neck, like right behind my ear, a little below my ear, and I'm like, every time I move my head, I would get this shooting pain in my head. I'm like, fuck. I was like, I think it's like muscular. I think it's just something with my muscle in the back of my neck now. And I was like, I don't think it has anything to do with the virus. So I'm like, all right, So I go to acupuncture and it went away. 2 days, I felt fucking full relief. I felt great. I'm like, all right, probably just muscular. I was working on a job, wrapped the job up, going to the shore the next day. I come home, feel great, had a beer, had a little bit of whiskey. I'm hanging out with my kids, like just having fun, super happy, ready to go. My hand goes numb and my lip goes numb, like my one side of my lip. So I'm like, what the I was like, I thought I pinched a nerve. Like my head went to, I probably pinched a nerve. That's it. So, I went to sleep like an idiot, but I wasn't thinking. I'm like, yeah, it's probably just a nerve. Wake up and I'm like, my hand's still numb. And I tell her, I'm like, I can't go to the shore with this on my mind. So I'm like, we went to the ER, did all workup, CAT scan, came back clean again. Everything was fine. My blood pressure was through the roof because I was so fucking nervous. Like when they said you might have had a stroke, my heart rate wouldn't calm down. I was just like, like since your blood pressure's high this time, we're gonna do the MRI. They did an MRI and they found it. So if I wasn't as nervous, they wouldn't even have found the stroke. Because I check my blood pressure on the reg, and I've been going to the doctors like every 4 months, and like always normal, So I had slightly high cholesterol, but I didn't have any other like underlying symptoms, which is fucking scary. But at the same time, like I'm almost 95% sure it was the virus. So
Yeah,
I'm not a
that's
doctor. I
crazy.
can't. Even my doctor was like, it sounds like it could have had something to do with the virus you had, but we'll never really know. There's no
Right.
way to really know that. So
Obviously, seems like you're doing pretty good, but like you
yeah,
don't have the major stroke long-term effects. My grandmother had one. I don't know if she had it before I was born, but like I always remember growing up, and then she has had like the speech issue, that like the mouth on the one side was tough to form, like the B sound, so she could never call
yeah,
me Brian. It's good, man. That's lucky that's all it was, but that's also crazy that they're like, oh, we think it's just the virus. You're like, well, I hope so.
yeah. I don't. Yeah, I'll never know what it was, and it's like kind of like lifestyle wise, man. I just ran the fucking Broad Street run. I'm running like 6 to 10 miles a day, like 3 times a week, and it's like I was probably in the best shape of my life then. Like that's the fucked up part where it's like felt like I was doing everything right, you know? Like I'm not like I wasn't heavy drinking, you know, I never did drugs in my life. Like I would fuck around with like CBD or like, you know, 2-to-1 CBD, THC shit. Like I was never a big pot smoker, never did any other drugs, never did pills, none of that shit. So there's nothing like that. Oh, it's not one of them things like, oh, this dude was doing all this shit before. He partied all the time. Wasn't that dude, you know?
Yeah, the
It was just,
lifestyle wasn't catching up to you. The healthy
yeah, I could see.
lifestyle caught up to you. I hope you learned your lesson.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I gotta stop. I gotta stop running and eating like shit now because I had a stroke. You know? So,
I was
but
having McDonald's and just sitting on the couch all the time. Like, oh, I feel great now.
my mom had a heart attack when she was 50, and I had a stroke when I was 45. So I was like, I guess genetics. But I'm like, at the same time, my mom was smoking 2 to 3 packs of Marlboro Reds, you know, drinking and like just like my mom had a hard life stress wise because when my dad died, you got to think like my mom was like 28 when my dad passed away. So it's like 28 with 4 fucking kids. I'd be smoking like a carton of Marlboro Reds, you know, if
Oh
I had to
yeah.
get, especially the kind of kids we were. Like it's like fucking doing dumb shit all the time.
It's amazing, just one, like how humans continue to move on, because there's always like, hard times, and like your mom passing away, and then like the World War II generation, like so many of them were single parents and it just
Yeah.
had like 50 kids and was like, oh, I had 50 kids and I work 50 jobs and like yet still push on. And then you see some of the TikTok generation, they don't even have a job and they can't handle life. And it's like, well, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. My mom still, I mean, she had a heart attack, but she's 70. She's still kicking now. She's still around.
Yeah,
And
no, that's awesome, man. That's
yeah,
awesome.
but like, yeah. So I was worried about like, I have a 21-year-old, and he's like, I would worry about like what would happen if like, when he had the first time he had to deal with death was my grandma, and just to see the way he reacted, I'm like, oh man, this is like really hard on him, and he don't even see her that much, you know. But his grandpa passed recently. He's getting older. I think he's learning how to deal with it. But I feel like you worry about your kids and how they're going to handle shit growing up. Because now it's like we have grandparents. Their grandparents are going to pass eventually, and they're going to have to deal with that. And it's like you don't want to see them go through that. But it's like you're just hoping they're old enough to like, figure it out. you know?
Yeah, that's the hard, you want to do everything for your kids. And it's like this fine line of being like this helicopter parent of like, I
Yeah.
can't protect you from the whole world, but then also like, what can I just help you get better at, while like, being a parent, and also like a buddy of like, hey, watch out for these pitfalls here, here, and here. But like, death is something you can't really prepare them for. And it just sucks that like you put all that effort into being a parent. It's like, fuck, man, like I can't even control this at all.
Yeah. This is some of them things you just got to like learn, like, you know, roll with the punches, I guess, dude. It's like, it's tough to like, I went through, I feel like when after I went through that whole anxiety thing, it was like I went on Lexapro for a bit. So I'm still on a low dose of Lexapro. I was on 20 mil. I went from 5, 10 to 20. Now I went from 20 to 10 to 5. I'm back on 5 and I'm like feeling great. But it's like I feel like after being on that and kind of like it helps me deal with it's like it's not like I don't think I'm gonna need it the rest of my life because I already weaned myself down a bunch off of it. But it's like and like again, dude, if I have to, I will. I don't if you have to go on antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, fucking do it, man. Like it's like, you could take like Xanax and fucking Klonopin, that shit, but that's like temporary. If you take something like, Lexaprazole, stuff like that, it could save your fucking life, dude. I'm a firm believer in it. So it's like I feel like it helped me deal with like other anxieties in my life that I used to have, like just like general like I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. And I'm like, makes sense. I worry about the dumbest shit sometimes, And I felt like recently I've been a lot better. Like I've been more focused on my business, more focused on family shit, and just like drink coffee again, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I couldn't drink coffee, I know what I would do. That would be like, oh man.
Oh, dude, I went. Trust me, man. It was rough because right after I had the stroke, well, especially when I was in the anxiety thing, drinking decaf, it sucked, man. I'm like, fuck, and I'm not myself. I couldn't like I wasn't drinking like beer for a while. And like it's like, and drinking beer, like I'm having a couple now because it's like it helps me relax and like just go with the flow with talking. But it's like I don't drink. I'm not a big drinker anymore. So I live out in Medford. I can't just walk to a bar anymore. I was living in Philly. I lived in Philly for 45 years and I moved a year and a half ago to Medford, New Jersey. So
Yeah.
But yeah, this house it's fucking great. We got a half acre, which is cool, and like it's like enough land for the kids to run around, and then we're not touching anybody else's house, which I don't miss that fucking shit in Philly anymore, man. And just like sharing steps with people. The one lady we shared a step with, it was like she was just a terrible person, man. I couldn't deal with her no more. And
Yeah.
I feel bad that I kind of feel bad that I sold it to a buddy of mine, but it's like I don't he's quiet. He's on tour all the time. He's not
Yeah.
gonna he probably don't even talk to the lady next door. He probably don't ever say her. So
And she's
yeah.
going to move, or, the inevitable will happen, and he'll be fine. He'll have new neighbors.
Yeah, she was her mom was great. Her mom was like 95 when she passed, and we used to go over there when my son was like little, and I'd bring him over, I'd bring her dinner over. Her daughter moved in. It was one of them like, hand-me-down houses. Like mom dies, her like, 55, 60-year-old like daughter takes over and just doesn't do anything. All she did was smoke weed all day, just no didn't work. I don't know how the fuck she was getting by. I have no idea. So
Yeah, man. I don't miss that. We lived in Philly with my parents for a little bit, and like, the row homes in Kensington. And I miss none of that. Our old house, our driveways were separated by like a foot from like the other neighbors. And like they were pretty cool, but also it's kind of annoying if like you're trying to get in your car and you have to like make sure you're not digging somebody. Like, how do I own like a single family house? And like I can't even open my car door all the way. Like
yeah.
first world problems. I don't know.
Yeah, I loved everything about the city up until like, when I start getting used to here, I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like, I got a fireplace, it's like, I could light a fire when I want. We got a, fire pit in the backyard. Like when the Phillies and Eagles games are on, like when it's nice out, I'll put the projector screen out back and have people over. And it's like, I can't do like we had a little deck in South Philly and I would hang the sheet over the deck and put like the projector on it. But it was like out here, it's like you got all this fucking space, and it's like the kids are running around, you're watching a game and like barbecuing, and it's awesome.
It's so nice, and it's such a different lifestyle. Even our house in Stratford was like suburbs, but like we still don't let the kids go that far. And I'm sure for the Philly for the same thing. Like your kids, like, hey, you guys can't really ride your bike around the block. Like you can ride maybe a couple houses and turn around. But now here
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you have like these watches, you can track them, and you're like, just go, it's fine.
Yeah, my kids are 6 and 8. So it's like we're getting to that point where my son wants to like, he'll eventually will let him take off and do his thing. But I feel like when I was his age, I was doing that. But like it's
Yeah,
like, like the
the world
helicopter.
changed though at some point though. It's like it's weird. It's like
Yeah.
it's this whole social media of like it is real life and it's not real life, but also like we see news stories like you would never see like when you were growing up, and you get them instantly. So like the world's like this scary place, and like hey, it kind of is. And also if you turn off social media, it's also a pretty normal place. But it's
Yeah.
like it's like this weird thing of like how far do my kids go, and how far do I let
Well,
whatever might
yeah,
be.
I try to avoid it. Like I barely watch the news, man. I try not to even do it anymore. I'm just like you said, like it's like, yeah, it's like it's a scary place, but like at the same time, I feel like we're fortunate to live where we're at, and it's like it's a really fucking solid place.
Yeah.
I love living in South Philly too. Like I loved everything about South Philly. My heart's still in South Philly. It's like I love, like I'm there all the time for work. I'm there for friends, and it's like like, but it's like at the same time, it's I don't know. You get older and you want to kind of like, where do I want to retire at? Do I want to retire in South Philly or I want to retire in the woods? And I'm like, I kind of want to be in the woods,
Yeah, it's
So,
beautiful out here. You ever try to go to farmhouse or anything, or do some shows over
oh,
there?
what's yeah, yeah. Farm truck.
The farm truck, yeah, farm truck.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to play the open mic last night. I actually I'm buds with the dude that does it now. I went there a couple times and played, and it's kind of funny. I played a few of my songs, and like every time I go in there, so I have a song called Whiskey Neat, and it's like the bitch took my dog, she took my house, and like every time I walk in farm truck, the fucking one bartender's like, the bitch took my dog, So it's like, and it's like we have a joke about it. Now I walked a couple weeks ago. My son was he was down. My son goes to school in Boston, my oldest son, and he was down for Thanksgiving. And I was like, I owed him a couple beers because he turned 21 when he was in Boston. So I was like, yeah, let's go to Farm Trucks. We go to Farm Truck. We walk in. Same bartender's there. He's like, bitch took my dog. And my son's laughing. I was like, dude, they fucking know me out here. I'm a celebrity already.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so your son's in Boston. He's not like turning into a Red Sox and a Patriots fan, is he?
Oh no, he never will, man.
All right, all right.
He knows I'll disown him if he does that.
You raised him right.
That's it, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
You
like,
start fucking, you start yelling Patriots or Red Sox or fuck that.
I
But
gotta
like,
go Celtics. Like, fuck you, man. Don't come back.
yeah, all right, all right. You can wear a Larry Bird jersey. That's as far
Yeah.
as it goes, man.
Larry Bird's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, today's his birthday. I just saw that. I saw that today. He's
Oh shit, no,
I forget
really?
how old
That's
yeah, 64 or something. Yeah.
wow, dude. Yeah. I remember back in the day when like House of Pain came out and everybody wanted to rock a fucking Celtics Larry Bird jersey because Everlast was wearing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my son's up in Boston. He's a data science major and he's probably gonna be fucking killing it, like, when he gets out. But he's doing his co-op right now. But he's in the music too. Like he played in a band called Noise Plant when right before the pandemic hit and they were gonna go on tour and it fucking ruined everything for them.
Uh,
All the kids kind of like just they kind of stopped not stopped talking, but it was like, James is going up to college and everybody else is going to college, and they were just like kids that were like 17, 18 years old, and this band, like, they're called Noise Plant, and I forget what the name of the EP they put out was, Other Side maybe, but it's fucking incredible. It, like, for like 17, 18-year-old kids, the shit I was doing when I was 17 and 18, it was like shitty 4-track recordings and sounded like dog shit. Like it was terrible. This stuff sounds great. And my son's like a really good guitar player. And it's like, he always tells me I'm an influence. I'm like, dude, I'm not a good guitar player. I just play cowboy chords. And like, sometimes I dick around with some like Modest Mouse Built to Spill type stuff, but it's like, this kid's incredible. And he did that. He's like, he hasn't been playing music much because he's like, kid's a straight A student. So he's like, school first. But he's actually booking shows for Northeastern, the school he's going to, for their record label. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, he books shows. He has like every other. He just booked a show recently, and he books everything. He books hip hop. He books pop punk, or like indie, whatever it is. And some of the genres, I'm like, I feel like such an old fuck now, where it's like, I never heard of this shit, dude. Like, I don't know what this is. But he's like, yeah, listen to this. I'm like, yeah, let me hear it. He goes, you're not gonna like it. I'm like, give it a shot, dude. I'm like, you're right. I don't like it. It's I was like, yeah, this shit sucks. But nah, it's like but he started, like, I started taking him to shows. Like I took him to, you said Dave Hoss. I took him to see Dave Hoss when he was like 8 at a record store. And I knew Dave, like Dave, he played in the band with Dave Adolph from Cross Keys. They were like best friends.
Yeah.
So like I knew him, I knew all them dudes since we were kids, just going to shows at Stalag and West Philly shit. So like, I was like, oh, this dude's playing like acoustic shows. I'll take my son, who's 8, get him a jump start on punk rock a little bit. Took him to see the Dead Milkmen at a Doc Martin store when he was 8 years old. And like, from there it was like, took him to, more shows and more shows and more shows. Then like, it's like, flash forward, it's like, I'm watching, like, I don't know if you ever watch Hate 56, like Sonny from Hate 56 does all the filming for like punk shows and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll find a show that my son was at and see my son like stage dive in. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, dude, that's great. So they had so this is probably 2021, summer 21. So Halls was playing in King of Prussia, and it was like Under the Stars night or whatever, and kids were free. So before I knew that, I hit my buddy up. I was like, hey man, you want to go? He's like, oh, sorry man, I got daddy daycare. And I was like, all right, no problem. So I started doing more research, and I was like, hey man, do you want to go? And like, our kids are free to go. So he brought his 2 sons. I brought my son. So his kids were probably like 8 and 5, and my son was 8 at that time. And we go up and we're watching them. And so I play, Dave songs all the time on Amazon. And my son didn't like understand what a concert was, I don't think. Like, so we got there, like he didn't understand like who he was seeing. So then as he starts playing stuff, he's like, Dad, like this is the guy you listen to on the radio.
Yeah,
like, yes, man, like this is it. So this like little kid runs up like to the front of the stage with his little guitar, and like Dave starts to interact with him. He's like, hey man, you'll come up here and like, play with us. And then a minute later, like more kids like start creeping up. They're creeping. He's like, do you like all you kids want to come up? And next thing you know, there's like 100 kids like on stage and just like dancing around with them. And then I got a picture of my son standing next to Dave as he's wailing away. I was like, that's fucking cool. Great. And now my son brings up all the time. He's like, hey dad, when can we go back? When can we go do this? So
dude, that shit will change kids' lives, man. Like seeing shit like that. It's like, I took, so my son was like, this is a few years back. I think he just turned 16 or 17, just got his license. And you heard of the Menzingers, right?
Oh yeah.
All right. They're good friends of mine. Actually, Greg from the Menzingers bought my house in South Philly.
Oh, and awesome.
Joey, the drummer, I met him a while back through my buddy Eric. But you know, when they play in Philly, like, oh, you want to come out? I'm like, yeah, cool. And like, get me backstage and all that shit. So me and my son kind of bonded on that because it was like one of them bands that like, I'm like, I never really gave them a shot until I met them because it was kind of like I heard of them, but it was like I'm a little older and jaded and like fucking I don't know. I listen to this. This is what I listen to, and this is what I'm listening to until I die. So, but now I mean, like I started opening my mind more about stuff. But like I got me and my son bonded on them. We got into them, and like we go to shows, and I just we Joey's like, yo, dude, go backstage, drink whatever you want. I'm like, cool. And I look at my son, I'm like, you're driving home tonight. This is going to be your test. So I was like, because the car that he drove home, and I actually wound up giving him that car. I'm like, this is going to be your test, dude. So I got fucking shit hammered, just like drinking shitty keg beer. And I'm just like watching the dudes fucking, do their thing, and like watching my son like crowd surf and fucking singing along. I'm like, this is fucking awesome, man. Like seeing your kid do that shit. It's like it's wild because it's like you grew up with music and you're watching your kids do the same shit you're doing. I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? I must be doing something right,
Dude, definitely doing something right.
Yeah. But
so I listen to Gaslight Anthem radio on Pandora all the time, or on like Amazon Music, same thing. And the Menzingers, Please Come Back to Philly. I don't know the name of the title. Let's say something like that.
Anna, I think the song's called.
Yeah, I mean that's what. So I heard that and I was like, oh, I like this. Like, let me see who these guys are. So I find them out, and I find that they're from the Scranton area, and my wife grew up in that area. I was like, but she's older than them. I'm like, do you know these guys? She's like, no, I don't know. Then I started listening to them, and they're really, really good. And they were just in town, middle of November, right? End of November.
Yeah, I think I missed them. I think I was away. I think we were in Paris when they played last. And we just did a big trip to Paris and Iceland. I'll get into that a little bit, but it was like
life of a rock star, man. You're world traveling.
Yeah, I don't play anywhere there. It was just that was a fucking family vacation. That was like in-laws and kids. It was awesome, but like at the same time, it's like when you got a 70-year-old fucking father-in-law that just wants to like do everything possible. I'm like, dude, when are you gonna slow the fuck down? Chill. But like. Yeah, it was like when they played, we were over there, and I would have loved to see them. I love seeing them dudes. They're great fucking dudes. They all bought houses in Philly. They're all they're great musicians, man. Like they're one of them bands. It's like they're the same band that they have been since they were like teenagers, and like they're just all bros. They're not like fucking. Oh, we got new members. They're fighting this and that. It's for them, it's like it's a business, but it's also like a brotherhood. And like I respect them dudes a lot. It's like
that's awesome.
Getting to know them dudes over the past few years. I'm like, I'm lucky I fucking met them dudes. They're fucking good dudes,
Yeah.
I love seeing a band that's actually good people doing good things,
Right.
It's always the dickheads that are like people that can't like they don't know how to like develop a relationship with each other, or they're like fighting, they're arguing. I'm like, dude, like you have a good band. Do your thing, man. Like, figure out your differences because like you're grown-ups, do it. And they do that. They're just like for a lot of reasons, they're probably one of the better bands out there right now. So
yeah, I like what they put out, and it's always hard. Like Motley Crue, they fell off for a while. I mean, this is what I was talking about, like heavy metal, which like fell off for a while anyway. But like Guns N' Roses, they got their height. Like they couldn't like keep it together. And it's like don't you guys see like you're making money doing what you want to do? Like can you just like figure that shit out and like you guys were buddies before all this. It's tough. Then I was listening to do you ever listen to the podcast Disgraceland? It's really good. So this guy Jake, I forget his last name, but he has two podcasts. One's all about music and the other one's all about Hollywood. And it's all about like the bad stories behind it or whatever it might be. So he's doing Jane's Addiction, and Dave Navarro's mother was murdered when he was 13, like all this horrible stuff. And like the guy wasn't arrested until he was like 21 or 22. And then Dave knew the guy, like it was his mother's boyfriend who did it. So like he knew who the guy was. And Perry Farrell, the lead singer of Jane's Addiction, he was like, well, I write the songs, so I get 50% of the writing credits. And because I'm 1/3 of the band, I think it was 1/3, 1/4, whatever it was. He's like, I get that on top of it. So he was like double, triple dipping, like really put a strain on the band. And it's like, okay, I get you want to get paid for what you put in, but there's also this point where you kind of like, you guys are a group and like split it evenly, or you're going to, they didn't last that long. They burned bright and burned out, and, they still come back here and now.
Yeah, man. It's a shame that bands can't be like, all right, we started as a band. Let's like, my wife's a big Pearl Jam fan, and that's another band that's like, I feel like they kind of split things evenly, and they kind of, I mean, they're fucking huge too, but it's like at the same time, it's like I'm not a big fucking Pearl Jam fan. It's weird because my wife is like just her and her family, they'll basically like go wherever to see Pearl Jam. They've been to a ton of places just to see them. They drugged me to like where the hell we go the one time? Vancouver. I can't remember. We went somewhere to see them. We traveled somewhere. All I remember is Band of Horses opened up for them, and I was like, I love Band of Horses, one of my favorite bands. We had second row, and it was awesome because they're like in the 10 club. But like that's one of the bands that it's like they kind of held it together. It's one of the things that's like I wish like these bands would give them a fucking week working on a union construction site. Where
Right.
you have
Like, what do you want to do?
cold,
Like,
extreme cold or extreme hot, like where
yeah,
you have to shit in a porta potty on top of
someone else's shit that just shot you.
a pile of other men's shit. Like
Yeah.
you're worried about like
Yeah.
do that for a fucking week to a month. You'll appreciate what you have, and you'll probably maybe develop more of a camaraderie with your bros. It's
Right.
stupid. Yeah,
Like Oasis, like you guys were brothers. Like, I get all brothers
legit
didn't grow
brothers.
up like legit, right? Yeah. Like I happen to like my brothers, my family, and I know that can be weird for some people. As you hear the stories are the Thanksgiving horror stories, but like the Gallagher brothers grew up playing music, made it as brothers, and then fucking hated each other on this world stage.
Yeah.
I was like, what is the problem, man? Like,
That's I same thing with the count not the Count Crows, the Black Crows. Them dudes were like they're brothers and they did the same shit. It's like, and now they're cashing in and playing shows and stuff like that where it's like, fucking when I hear about bands that like used to fight all the time and then they come back, it's like Jawbreaker. I'm like, I don't have no interest in seeing them dudes because like I know the singer's a dick. I heard stories about that dude and I'm like, yeah, he put out some good shit, but I'm like, fuck him. I'm like, I don't want to see that. I don't care. Like
right.
I mean, I get it. I'm all about like punk bands like cashing in. Like if Cross Keys got a big record deal and played, I'm like, dudes, go for it. Like this is why you do this. You want to fucking like you want to make some money off your talent. Like there's no point in being like, I'm so punked that I can't make money off my fucking music. That's stupid to me. But like
That's the
like,
people who say that who aren't ever going to make it. They're like
yeah,
how dare you? You're like, dude, like I'm trying.
yeah, man,
Man.
be punk. It's like, yeah, dude, you're gonna. No, I don't know, man. It's fine.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. All right. So you're in a Catholic school. You've got the nun yelling at you. You've got your Anthrax tapes. When does your dad played music? Are you playing the guitar at that point? Are you getting into other music or
So
instruments?
when I was that young, I guess I was like a metalhead when I was like 11, 12 years old. And my mom bought me a guitar because I wanted a guitar because I wanted to sound like Metallica. I was like, I want to sound like James Hetfield, like I want to be Metallica. My mom buys me this fucking guitar with this little amp, and I strum it. I'm like, this don't sound like Metallica. And I didn't know shit about like pedals or none of that shit when I was younger, so I had no one to like help me out. My dad's not around anymore. My mom's like doesn't know anything about playing guitar. I'm hanging out with friends that just listen to music and didn't know much about it. So like I had a guitar when I was little and didn't really get too much into it. And I'm gonna try like jump to when I'm in my late teens where it's like, all right, I didn't do anything really music. It was like metal, then I got into like gangster rap, and I was like a hood rat kid with my friends. Like I just kind of like, selling weed and dumb shit like that. And like it was kind of like trying to blend in with the neighborhood. And I was like, I gotta find something different. This isn't good for me. My buddy who moved out of Philly from Florida came back down. He got me into skateboarding. So I kind of moved on from like being a wannabe gangster kid to like, started skateboarding when I was around 17, 18. And I was like, my buddy who moved back to Philly from Florida, got me hooked up with some dudes that were skating, and we did that. And I met dudes that played music. And my one buddy asked me to sing for him when I was about 18 or 19. And I started singing in a band called One Left Standing, where it was like, they were a band before me. Then they had my buddy Rich singing for them, and they were like kind of going more on the hardcore side. And like I started singing for them. We were trying to edge towards like the H2O kind of thing, the posse hardcore stuff, the cross key stuff. But like it's like it just didn't. It was kind of shitty. We didn't like whatever, and we broke up. And then I kind of started a band called Baracus with these dudes that were like trying to do like they would write songs, and like sometimes the parts didn't make sense to me. So I had them like kind of like not dumb it down, but kind of like, write this, do this, and try to tell them to put certain parts, certain places. And I would just they were always telling me. The one dude was like, "Can you try to sing like Lane Staley?" I'm like, "No." I was like, "I can't do that." I was like, "That's like fuck. You're asking me to sing like Lane Staley?" I was like, "I could scream, I could talk, and I could write lyrics. That's about it. That's what I got for you, man." So I was like, that's what I bring to the table, and I got the energy. If you want the energy, I'll bring that too. So like we just like once I started playing with them, they were kind of like happy with what like I was doing because it was more or less like I was like I would get compared to like Suicidal Tendencies, Mike from Suicidal Tendencies, a
Oh
singer.
yeah, yeah.
Kind of get that vibe, kind of just a little bit of talky, a little bit of screamy, a little bit of like. So I did that. I did that. We were on a compilation. We played a few shows and like we started getting like a little bit of a following, but it was like nothing crazy. Like we would like the last couple of shows we played, I'm like, damn, these kids are singing along. I've fucking never seen these kids in my life. And it kind of ended abruptly where it was like I had a falling out with the dudes in the band, and like it was like they got another singer at one point, and he had like a fucking Marilyn Manson tattoo on his neck, and it's like just some like pillhead from like Northeast Philly.
Yeah, yeah.
And we played. They used to have shows at Pizzeria Uno of a South Street. I don't know if you remember any of that, but it was like, how old are you?
42.
Okay, so I'm a little bit older than you. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
46.
but who knows on South Street? I don't remember there.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like there was Pizzeria Uno. It was like
Yeah.
they used to have shows and shit. And the one time we played, it was like when I was playing with that band. I remember like I would do shit like jump up on tables, and I did a flip and I fucking knocked this whole table over, and like pasta and shits everywhere. Like people were so pissed. And like I'm like in my early 20s, just like obnoxious, like hardcore singer. And it's like when they had the new singer playing, the dudes in this other band we played with, they were called Burnout, all really good dudes. And they were like, "Oh, you should sing a song with them." I'm like, "Well, they have the other singer. I can't sing a song." They're like, "Dude, just do it. Just get the mic and do it." So I'm like, they egged me on, and I fucking grabbed the mic off the kid, sing the song. These kids from the Burnout come up and they fucking start singing along. They had a blast. And when it was over, I just grabbed the mic and just fucking smashed it. And the dude that was promoting the show runs out after me. He's like, "What the fuck, Joe? You owe me a new mic, this and that." I was like, "No, fucking tell them to stop playing my song." Just fucking walked away from him. And then like the one dude, the guitar player in the band, me and him had it out. Like we were like in each other's faces out front and stuff. But it was like that was like one of them things. It was like one of them bands that like it was like I didn't know how to play guitar. I just knew how to write songs. Right? I just knew how to write lyrics. And I'm like, I'll do this, and that's what I bring to the table. And like, but didn't really start playing guitar until I was like probably mid 20s, just dicking around with like trying to write songs.
So you mentioned Springsteen earlier, and then one of the songs that I don't know your group or you did, but it's El Wingador. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
kind of like the Atlantic City, and then it's El Wingador, and blew up the Chicken Man last night about that. And it's fucking great song. I get not like funny, haha. I guess like ironic or something, like the way it goes, and like and a good song on top of it. And El Wingador was like he was the man for a while.
Oh,
But
I mean, you're a Jersey dude. You have to know who El Wingador is. It's like,
dude, I've been at so many wing bowls. I would go to wing bowl all the time. That dude was a house, and he got busted for selling coke, distributing coke, like more than just selling. But but he had his own hot sauce. I think he had a partnership in a restaurant. He had a lot going on. Like
Hey,
that song
dude.
is like fucking awesome.
Yeah, that was one of them things. It was like, so my buddy Joel, he was in a band, Plow United. I don't know if you remember Plow United, but recently he's in a band called the Blackburns. Shout out to them, dude. They're fucking great. Anyway, he plays bass on the album, Joel Tannenbaum. But he gave me the idea. He saw the article. Was like, "You hear this shit, dude? Like about El Wingador?" I'm like, he's like, "Dude, you should write a song about this." So I was like, "Yo, you're on to something." So my buddy Jimmy, who's not a songwriter, just one of my best friends that like I drink whiskey in his back, we hang out, drink whiskey. One night we were just in his backyard drinking, and I was telling him I was like, "Yo, Joel told me to write the song." So me and him started riffing on fucking like the chorus, like, and my buddy Jimmy's like, "Yo, he probably had a fucking kilo of cocaine to his head, and he was trying to get the weed to LA." So that's like the chorus is like 1 kilo to get him to LA. And he's like, we're like doing the math. He's like, "Dude, 254 chicken." I don't even know if this is true, but like, it just sounded good in the song. It's like, oh yeah, like roughly like it's like 60 pounds of chicken. I don't think that's true, but it's like, we were like, oh, he ate 60 pounds of chicken in his glory days. So I'm like, yo, I'm going to write this song with a lot of Springsteen references. And the idea I got like with the whole like stopping the song and then going into Atlantic City, like they pulled over the Chicken Man in Philly in Nebraska last night,
Yeah.
tying in the album Nebraska with like, the whole deal, So it's like that idea I kind of got with my buddy Side Pocket Louie. He has a song called Lou Bloom Tow Truck Blues. He does a whole song about Lou Bloom, the tow truck driver dude. You know who that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
If you heard that hit like Side Pocket Louie song, he's a dude you might want to get him on. He's an interesting dude. he has that song, and he goes into a Misfits song, like he's like, I ain't no goddamn son of a bitch, and he's like, kind of like he sings a song when he goes off, like kind of how I do that, but mine's a little bit different. But I'm like, I kind of got the idea off him a little bit because me and him kind of like played a lot of shows together, good buds, and we talk a lot about music together. But it's like, and we'll definitely bounce songs off each other a lot too. So that was a really fun song to write, and it's one of them songs that like who's going to write a song about on Wingador?
You.
I guess yeah, no, he's like he's one of them dudes, and like he needs a song written about him. I mean, that dude's the fucking man.
Yeah, that's a cult classic for here, and just like such a time period that he existed in, of that like 2000 to like, I guess it was like 07, 08, and of his heyday of the wing eating, the chicken wing eating, 90 whatever it was then, 610 back then, WIP all the time,
Yeah.
calling in and doing stuff. Like what a local hero.
So I don't know if you know this, like, so he got caught with 254 pounds of weed, right?
Oh, I thought he had the coke. Yeah, but I knew he was caught for distributing.
I think he got caught with a kilo of coke, but he had 254 pounds of weed. But the fucking crazy thing is that his wing eating record was 254 wings. So the type of dude, he's a sports dude. That's a superstition thing.
Yeah.
You know for a fact that motherfucker was like, I can't take 255, man. I'll take 254. You take that other pound of weed for yourself, So that's the theory we came up with. I'm like, it has to be, dude. It's just too much of a coincidence for him to like, walk away with 250. It's a weird number. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's out of jail now. I'll have to look him up and see what he's doing. But that maybe he'll come on the show.
Dude, I bought his book too. He has a book called Snow on the Barbed Wire. And that's where I got the idea for, I mean, that's like the beginning verse second verse when he's like, he was going to be a big baseball player. Like he was a baseball player, and like, I think he lived in National Park, and he lived out this way too. I think he lived near Medford or in Medford for a little bit. So like, he's like a South Jersey legend.
Yeah. Oh man. Did you ever go to Wing Bowl growing up, or in the area?
Dude.
Yeah.
I live so dude, it's disgusting. And I lived, just seeing those big fat faces on the Jumbotron with like fucking chicken wings coming out of their mouth, and like, it's the best though. I lived on Hart Ramp Street, which is Phillies Drive, basically. It turns into Phillies Drive. 1819 Hart Ramp. Me and my wife, it was our first apartment. And my buddy one day, he's like, dude, we go to Wing Bowl. He's like, you got to be up at like 5 o'clock. And I'm like, what? I was like, all right, fuck it, dude. So we start drinking at like 5:30 in the morning. And it's just like, it's a shit show the whole time. It's just like a mess, dude. Like, just like, there's like, I just remember like, we're fucking hammered out there. People were throwing bottles at buses and shit in the parking lot. And it was wild.
One of the ones that sticks out in my mind that we went to was in 04 when the Eagles were going to the Super Bowl. So that was the Friday in between the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl. So that off week, they had that. And we closed out the bar. We were growing up. So like 3 o'clock in the morning, they closed. Like, all right. Like, all right, we got to head over. And that like 3 to 5 time period was like rough to like keep going, because if you started a little bit earlier. And I remember getting into Wachovia Center and then going up, and I was like, oh, I need a rum and coke. And she's like, looked at like the disgust on her face of like, we don't start serving hard alcohol until 8 o'clock in the morning. So you can get a beer, you can get a coke. Like, oh no, I'll take a beer then, that's fine. But what a mess. And that was the Black Widow year, that little Asian woman who just like sucked down the wings, and she was like 90 pounds, and she beat all those dudes.
So a crazy story. My buddy did it for a long time. His name was Hank the Tank, Henry Goldie. I grew up in Southwest Philly. He lived around the corner from me. Then all of a sudden he was in the Wing Bowl, and like one year he got in an argument with the judge, and I think it might have been one of the years Wingador won, and he threw a pitcher of beer on the judge, and he was disqualified for like a year after that, I think.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, Hank the Tank, man. I got look him up. I don't know but
I love seeing when they're on stage and they're doing the wings, and they put their hands up like they're going to stop the food from coming out, and then like the puke just finds it through their fingers. And
it just shoots out.
Dude,
it's the most gluttonous, disgusting fucking thing. It's like, it's funny when people talk shit on Philadelphia. I'm like, we invented this shit, dude. This is disgusting as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Someone came up with it. It's fucking gnarly, but it's like, I love it.
And they're qualifying things they do to get in. So call in, the morning show, the afternoon show. I'm like, I'm going to eat 75, like, whatever it might be, marshmallows with hot sauce on them. Be like, yeah, sure. Go ahead and do that. Like, come on in.
Dude, a buddy of mine I worked with when I first started working in the union, this dude Joe McCarthy, he passed away a few years ago, but he was trying to get in the wing ball, and so his name was Dr. Keporkian. That's his name he came up with, and he would eat, I think he ate like 3 pounds of bacon or some shit, or more than that, maybe. It was like a bunch of pounds of bacon he ate. That's what he ate. And like that was his thing. He was on WIP and he did it. I remember like him being, he's like, oh, I'm going to be on WIP. He's like, here's Dr. Keporkian. I'm like, what a fucking name though, man.
Dude, 3 pounds of bacon. Oh man, I don't know.
That's disgusting, man. Yeah.
So you went the musical route instead of the competitive eating route.
What's that?
You went the musical route instead of the competitive eating route.
Oh yeah, dude. I don't think I could do the competitive eating. I could barely play guitar, dude. I don't think I could fucking eat 3 pounds of bacon or fucking 254 wings. I mean, I love chicken wings. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not gonna. I just like. I try to like with eating, especially now. Like I'm like, I try to do the fasting thing a little bit and like stuff like that. And like, I feel bloated after I eat dinner sometimes. I mean, I can't imagine someone shoving all that fucking food in their face. And then you have these people that do the Philly fucking, they call it the Philly taco with the.
Oh yeah, Lorenzo's and the and Jim's before it burned down.
Dude, Lorenzo's pizza is garbage. Like it's straight fucking trash. It's drunk pizza. We all, most of us been there late night, went there. Oh, this is great fucking pizza, but it's not good pizza. It's just
for the price, for the size of the slice. I mean, it's bigger than your body, and it's like $5 or whatever.
It hits a spot when you're in your like fucking 20s and early 30s when you like get them tattoo moms or something, and it's like. That was like, yeah, I'd been there plenty of times, but it's like one of them things. It's like when I hear someone say, "Oh yeah, Lorenzo," no, dude, there's good fucking pizza. Like, speaking of pizza, like around here, dude, there's not many good pizza spots. I mean, like,
so you can go to the Riv. The Riv will grow on you, but then, oh Jesus, it's across from Spots Hardware, like diagonal on Stokes.
Yeah, I gotta venture out more.
Yeah, I'll shoot you the name of it. But it's better, and that's like a little thinner. And then they have this margarita pizza that's really good. But like just in general, if you're just like looking for a good pie, yeah, kind of the Riv will grow on you.
Yeah, that's one of our go-tos because that's like the spot everybody talked about. But Johnny Pies down by Farm Truck, they're pretty good.
That's good. Oh, that's next. Is that next to the Game Place, right? The Game One.
Right next to it. Did my
Game One's crazy. I love my kids have birthday parties there.
Oh yeah, we did. we did my son's 8th birthday party there. It was fucking so easy. Everybody just played video games and yeah, hell yeah.
I'm like pushing people off of the kids off the games. Like, I need to get an NBA Jam now. Like, you guys need to slide over.
Yeah, fucking playing like Mortal Kombat and like Street Fighter and shit. Yeah.
They have this 4-player Pac-Man game that's like right past the rows of the controllers for like Xbox and all this stuff, and it's like right there.
I know. My wife and my daughter sat there most of the time playing that shit. Yeah.
I never saw that game growing up or anything, and then I came home and I was like, I need to buy this, and I saw it was $10,000. And I was like, all right, you need to take a deep breath. Like, you're not ready for this yet.
Like that whole you wanted the whole
that Pac-Man. I was like, dude, like this. I was like, how much could this really be? Like, the NBA Jam. Like you'll see stuff. Sometimes like Target will have the cabinet for NBA Jam, the whole thing. You could get your own stand-up NBA Jam. And at one point it was like $250. But now like at Target, it's like $550. I'm sure you could probably find it different on eBay. It's like shit, like what's this gonna be like $700? Like, maybe like, I'll save $350, I'll splurge $350. And then I looked it up and it was thousands. It was yeah. And I was like,
See, I'm not a big video game guy. But I seen that thing you could plug in to your USB and get all the old video games.
Yeah.
I would fuck with that. But like, I'm just like, I never, like, I used to play like the bigs, that baseball game with my son, or NHL and like stuff like that. But I'm like, I don't even remember the last time I played a video game.
So this is the thing.
That's about it.
I would buy that Pac-Man game, be so excited that I have it, and then play it for 2 minutes and walk away from it. Why did I just spend $10,000 on it?
See, Pac-Man's one of them ones I could get into. I mean, I grew up on that shit. Like, I grew up on like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, Super Mario, and stuff like that. And it's like, but like, I feel like I fell off the video game thing young, and I was just like, I wasn't really into it,
Yeah.
So,
my free time is used differently now, where I'm like, I don't see it. Even my kid has like the Switch, and I'll have the old school Nintendo games or the Genesis games, and like I'll play with him if he wants to play something. But he's like, hey, Dad, do you want to turn on this? I'm like, no, I'm good. Like if he wants to play Mario Kart or something, like that's awesome.
Yeah, my son got Switch recently too, and it's like I didn't even play. I think I played with him one time, and I'm like, I don't. He don't even play with that much. He's usually on his like iPad talking to his buds and playing games on that. So it's like they're playing games, and that's one of the things. Like he communicates with his friends, he talks to his friends on the. I mean, like I know I get it. He's on a screen a lot, but it's always like it's never like he's just like buried in the screen by himself. He's like him and his like four friends are like talking and like playing some games and shit. So
Yeah, you're not like locked in a basement or whatever. Like when we were kids, with like just computer wasn't connected, but now like everything is like instant, and like you're on your a text thread, or you're on the same mission, the same whatever it might be.
yeah, there's one thing I never. My nephew was in the game and a lot. Well, just playing video games a lot. He just like go in his room. It's like Mountain Dews and Doritos laying everywhere and shit. It's like, I mean, he's doing great now. I mean, he's actually another one that's in the music. He was working with a producer in L.A. He's doing the whole New York L.A. thing. He's like 24 years old and he's trying to make it as a producer. He did worked with some dude out in LA for a bit and was doing good out there, but him and his girl moved to New York and now he's doing like he's trying to find a job out there. He hasn't found anything yet, but the kid's like really talented, hoping he does something. But
Do you think, not that it's easier because you still need that break and you still need to get in, but do you think with the technology that's at hand, do you think with like the recording equipment at hand, it's more beneficial for the bands now than it was like when you were coming up?
man, it's I guess it's easier to make something sound better now. But I miss the like lo-fi quality of like back in the day, like when it I don't know, man. Sometimes I want to go back and just like record everything with a 4 track, just to have that like that lo-fi kind of gritty sound again. But it's like I don't know. You said if is it easier? You think is that what you asked me?
Yeah, just but you're just talking about the sound. It's like that's part of it too. Like I have this whole thing up and running, and it was barely any money at all, and now here I am, like broadcasting out to like I just have my Spotify review for the year, and there's 19 countries just through Spotify, and like my other stuff, like I know there's other countries, so I'm reaching 20 to 30 different countries across the world with something that I just made up on my own, and I could never have done that,
Yeah,
when I was 20, when I was even 30, I think for the most part,
yeah.
and it's
That
just kind
part
of
that
crazy.
that part of it's great, dude. I think it's like people to like. I know you see people like, oh, Spotify doesn't pay artists, blah blah blah. I mean, some artists don't fucking deserve to get paid. Like, I'm not like, dude, I'm nobody. Like, I have few listeners. There's nothing crazy. Like, and it's like, like, do I think Spotify owes me anything? No, because I'm not fucking doing anything to make it worth it. Like, if and a lot of the artists that do it too. Like, have a few thousand followers, a couple listeners. I'm like, how much do you want to fucking get paid, dude? And if you don't want your shit on there and I'm not defending the big corporate. I'm sure I mean, they do a lot of shady shit, and it's like kind of fucked up with what they pay artists sometimes. But it's like, you could easily take your shit off of Spotify and sell the shit out of the back of your truck or your car. So I mean, like you go back to the old days if you want to, but I'm like, Spotify is good to have there for like promotion, and it's like that's what's easier about it now. It's like you got like platforms like Instagram, Spotify, TikTok, all that shit, and you could just like it's easier to get an audience now, than it was. And like you said, like it's like worldwide too. Like you could catch on in like fucking France. You could reach people in France that, wasn't that easy back in the day. Back in the day, you'd have to take a flight to France and play in France and sell your shit there, to even get a little bit of like anything. So
Right. Hope that it caught on instead of somebody just searching like a hashtag and they're like, oh, look what I just found. And you're like, that's fucking
yeah,
crazy.
I mean, it's crazy how like easy it is. Like, I mean, it's not like the thing is, it's like it's like a crapshoot sometimes, but it's like you could get famous for like a shitty fucking song now. Like it's like you see here some of the shit like the TikTok stuff that comes out where I like what the fuck is that song? It's just the dude like just whistling or some shit. He's like I don't know if you know
I
what
don't
I'm
know
talking
that
about.
one. I don't know
It's
that one.
fucking
Yeah.
dude. It's a weird
Yeah.
like hit rap song. Like this fucking got famous, and like it's like wow, because I'm like I put time into my songs. I put some energy into it. And I'm like, there's like barely anybody listening to my shit, but at the same time, it's like I'm just doing it for fun. I don't care that much anymore. It's like it'd be cool if people actually like listen to stuff and like have like it's like I played a show to you like, last week, and it was like no one was there but like the bands that were playing. And a few people that were there were like, they seemed to like be into what we were doing. And I'm like, cool. And I have a fiddle player now. And it's like, shout out to Tony Jeter, best fiddle player in South Philly, best punk rock, only punk rock fiddle player. and
That's the important part. Yep.
but yeah, we had last week we played as a three-piece. It was bass, fiddle, and me playing acoustic and singing. So it was like fucking great time. We had fun. It was, just us. And like there's a couple people there and like that's kind of the thing you gotta do. Cause I did a little bit of stand-up comedy a few years back, and it was kind of like I kind of learned a lot from that where it was like, yo, if you get a couple laughs, dude, you're doing good. You're off to a good start. It's like you're not gonna kill it every time. And like I kind of take that with music too. It's like you have some shows that are like you'll get a good handful of people there, and other shows there'll be nobody there. But it's just like as long as you got one or two people paying attention, that's fine. So
So, how'd you like the stand-up comedy? How did you get involved in that?
so I was like a big Eddie Murphy fan when I was a kid, big SNL, like all that shit. And like I always had it like I feel like ever since I was really little, I was like, I kind of want to do that. I want to watch an Eddie Murphy role when I was like 8 years old. I'm like, I want to do this. Like I want to do this one day. I want to do it.
You want the red jacket and like no
Yeah, yeah.
shirt underneath and just
that fucking leather outfit,
Yeah.
Imagine that shit, dude. We
Yeah.
go Rusty
Come
Pigeon.
out now with that, man. Just come out
Yeah.
now.
Rusty Pigeon with this fucking little fucking Martin guitar and a leather ass, like with my dad bought and like Eddie Murphy outfit. I don't know. That might do something. You might be onto something.
I might be. Yeah.
I'll keep the mustache too. Even fucking weirder. But but yeah, it was like that was like a little bit of I was always obsessed with like kind of stand up and like always one of them things like I could never like it was one of the things I wanted to do. I don't know if I could ever do this. And finally you get a little bit older. I'm in my like mid-30s. I'm like, what the fuck do I got to lose? Like, well, like I could try this. So me and my buddy Mikey Poole, who he moved. Where did he move to? He moved to Delaware, but we both lived in South Philly at the time. And we would go to like open mics, and we started going to open mic in Delco, and this dude Brian ran it, and we it was at a bar. It was at Tom and Jerry. I think it was Tom and Jerry. It was at Tom and Jerry's, and we would do the open mic at the bar, but there would be at the one side of the bar, but everybody at the bar could hear us. So it was kind of like you had a fucking audience a little bit, during your set. Most open mics are just like other comics dicking around on their phone, like waiting to go up, waiting to do their thing. And it's kind of like you're just playing to nobody. It's one of them things like you're just testing material. And I wasn't good with that kind of shit because I'm like, I get too nervous. I'm like, I like having people listening. So it's like you had these fucking chuds from Delco like listening to you like do your comedy and throw in like their 2 cents in every now and then. And I got to learn. I learned how to do like some crowd work with it, and like I got good enough to do a couple shows where it was like I don't think like I held my own. Like I had a good few minutes, but I wasn't really that good. I mean, looking back on it, I'm like I could have did this different, this that different, and like especially like how I progressed with music and writing music, just like kind of learning to be myself with it, and just like like talking about life and telling a story with my songs that I do now. And if I did that with comedy now, I think I would do a lot better than I did back then, which is like, it's not out of the, like, it's not off the table. Like I might do it again. But it was like one of them things like I was like, I need to do this now and I'm going to do it. Whether I fail at it, I'm going to have fun with it and see how it goes. And I did like me and my buddy Mike hosted an open mic at a Bottle Bar East in Fishtown when that first opened. And I played a show with there was like probably like 15 comics on the show. I can't even remember who was on it. This dude, Brad Trackman, he did shit with Comedy Central. I never heard of him before or after this, but like apparently he had some shit on Comedy Central, but he was the headliner and I opened the show and it was just like the first show I did, it was like 100 people there. There was a lot of people. I mean, it was a good amount of people, it wasn't like everybody was there for comedy. And, of course you can have people yelling shit out. And like right before I went there, I got pulled over by a cop. Like I was coming over the bridge, dropped my son off, my oldest son, he was like probably like 7 or 8 at the time. And I dropped him off at my mom's house. I'm driving, had a couple glasses of wine, flying over to Commodore Barry Bridge. Cop pulls me over. He's like, you know how fast you were going? I'm like, no. He's like, you were swerving in and out of traffic. I was like, dude, listen, man. I was like, I'm going to a comedy show. It's my first time ever doing this. I'm really fucking nervous. I was like, just give me a ticket. I get it, man. I get it. He comes back. He just starts laughing. I'm like, what's up? He goes, yo, man, have a good show. He just let me go.
That's awesome, man.
I was like, and he seemed like a dickhead. Like, like you like a lot of cops seem like dickheads when they come up to you, but
Yeah.
he just had this persona. Like, I'm like, this is like a Port Authority cop. This dude's gonna fucking get me, dude. But
Yeah.
he was cool about it. And I was, because I was just like, whatever, man. And he's like, so I get to the show, my heart's fucking racing the whole time. And like, I look back at videos, people are like, man, you seem really relaxed. I'm like, dude, I fucking was so nervous. It was like incredibly nervous. And like looking back at the videos, like, man, I actually got a couple half decent laughs. And it was like, I didn't kill it by any means, but it was like at the same time, it was like, I didn't bomb either. But yeah, I did plenty of bombing. Like there was plenty of like, open mics where it was just like silence
Yeah.
and shit like that. But it's like it's all part of the deal. And like listening to like comedians now, and like I've been getting really back into listening to like comedy podcasts and comedians. I'm like, God damn it, like I kind of want to do this again. But we'll
So
see.
my buddy in the neighborhood, he was on an episode, Joe Fadul. He was hosting his own show. So he was doing up in New York. And then he found out that if he went to Philly, like some of these places would be like, hey, if you can pull people in on Tuesday, we'll give you half the door. So he was doing that. He went from like 15 minutes to 60. He was like overnight. And saying how much he likes it. And he was talking about trying to get back into it. So he's coming on next week to do my end of the year rap show. But
Cool.
I was like, I always wanted to do. I can't sing. I would love if I could sing. Like I can't. It's not enjoyable for me. It's not enjoyable for you. Like nobody enjoys it.
Like, you
But
can't sing, you said, or your
no,
buddy?
no, I can't. I can't sing. No, I can't sing. Like I would
Wait,
love.
sing something. I want to hear you sing something. Right,
The
come on,
mic won't
let's
pick
go,
it up.
bro.
The mic won't pick it
Come on,
up.
come on, bro.
We'll say that for another time. When we meet up, I'll sing for you. It's terrible. I've done a couple of karaoke's, and people are like, "Please sit the fuck down." But I would love to do like comedy. I would love to do like a tight 7, a tight 15, and go do that. So he's like, "Dude, I'm going to do this again." He's like, "You got to come with me." So now you're coming with us too, man. The three of us.
I'm
We're gonna
down,
work
dude.
this out.
I would love to fucking listen, man. I just need some motivation, and like I feel like I have the attitude for it. I just got to get the material for it. It's like, and I feel like the past few years of music got me a little more comfortable being on stage. I feel like it was kind of like a music, then comedy, then music. I actually did a show one time. It was in a shithole in fucking South Philly. My buddy's band, they were called the Dead Pirates. And my drummer used to call them the Dead Parrots. But they were like this like slapsticky metal band that like just like they were just like writing jokey, goofy songs, and they were kind of funny, but it was kind of like it was weird. But they asked me to do like he's like, oh, you're doing comedy now. He's like, you think you could do an acoustic set and do a comedy set? I'm like, fuck it, dude, I'll do it. I don't care. I was like, it was at JR's in South Philly, right near like Philip
Yeah,
Steaks
yeah,
on
yeah.
West Passyunk. And that bar was wild, dude. It's like an old mafia owned bar. Like there was this big photo in the back of like these like 6 like clearly like mafia looking dudes. There was always this dude in there with like a white suit and like sunglasses. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck these dudes do, but they let a bunch of shitty like punk and metal bands play their bar. But the one night I just did an acoustic set and did a comedy set too. And I feel like that was one of my best shows because it was like everybody was there just to have fun, and no one was like, it's like you always get like if you get a heckler, that's cool, whatever. And once in a while I get somebody yelling shit out, but most everybody was like respectful. They listened, they laughed. Fucking, it was actually a real good time. And it was like that place usually got a good neighborhood crowd. It was like, just South Philly, like, they like all the dudes in the band were from South Philly. I was from South Philly, so we had a good amount of friends and family and shit there. So it was good.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I don't know. Just gotta work on some more material and try to get some comedy shit going again. But until then, I'm gonna keep doing the fucking acoustic shit, music shit, and like I don't know if I told you. You probably look some of the stuff up with the band, but like it's like players right now. I got like it's me, Joel Tannenbaum used to be in Plow United. Ginger Knight plays drums. She was in the Ramam. She's in a band called Riverside Odds, who are fucking awesome right now. She's an incredible drummer. She's awesome. She's an awesome person in general. And Tony Jeter. I don't know if you ever Jeter. Jeter is like a 63-year-old fiddle player. He's been around forever. Like he's just played in punk bands and just like he's the punk rock fiddle guy, And like you don't get too many of them. There's none of them. He's the dude. He's the only dude. And like you know the Pogues, right? Shane McCowan
Yeah.
passed away recently.
Yep.
That's like we were like playing the other night. And my bass player's like Joel's like Tony's like our Shane McCowan. He's like an older drunk that fucking kills it. That's like he just drinks whiskey, and fucking does his thing, and he's like incredible at it. Like, when we recorded the EP, Tony was just drinking his ass off like the whole time. So then fiddle parts, man, that's all booze fueled.
It
But
encourages you to drink along as you're listening.
what's that?
It encourages you to drink along as you're
Oh,
listening.
yeah. Well, most of them songs I mentioned, whiskey or beer or fucking chicken wings. So it's
Yeah.
like,
The three staples of life.
oh yeah, dude, that's all you need, really, right?
That's it. So
Yours
I'm more of
could
a bourbon guy. I will go whiskey, but we went to my family, extended family. We'll go to Wildwood Crest in September. And I had this bottle of scotch that someone gave me for my 40th birthday. And I was like, well, whatever, man. It's all in the same family. I'll bring it down there. I found out real quickly I'm not a scotch guy, but it took me like half a bottle to figure that out. Oh my God. The rest of the night was horrible. And the whole next day was like really questioning multiple life decisions. It
Wait,
was,
how old were you?
this was like 3 months ago.
You were in your 40s.
Oh yeah. I got this really nice bottle for my 40th birthday.
Okay.
And then I was
Okay.
just letting it sit there. And
Gotcha.
we were going to head down and I had like half a bottle of Makers left. So I grabbed that and I was like, well, I'm going to need something the second night. I was like, oh, we'll get scotch. I'll share it around with like my brothers. And they each had like a little. And they're like, dude, this is nasty. Like nobody liked scotch. And like, you need like the rocks, you need 7-Up. I was like, no, I'm still doing, hey, I'm still doing neat, just fine. It's fine. And I just kept pouring it and kept going. My wife's just staring at me. She was like so proud of me, just like the death stare of like, what is your problem? And I'm like, no, don't worry. And it was downhill. But it's funny, they're in the same family, but they taste nothing alike.
Yeah, dude. Well, Scotch is smoky, and like it's a definitely a different taste and feel. I'm a rye whiskey guy. I like rye whiskey, and most of the time I buy whiskey, I'll get rye. I've been like off the whiskey for like not off of it. I mean, I had my show I played, I had a whiskey the other night. We were like, we played it's a 3-piece. Shane McGowan from the Pogues died. I'm like, I got to do a whiskey, and like but I used to buy a bottle every now and then, but I haven't even bought a bottle of whiskey in years. But like, let me see what I got here. What do I got? This stuff is pretty good. This Fuse stuff. If you see it.
Okay. No, it's blurred out.
Why is it
Oh,
blurred out? I don't know why the background's blurred out. It's probably because my wife. That's her.
yeah.
But there's a little bit left in this. It's just bourbon.
That's good stuff. There was something left in it, not anymore. That clip's going
There was
on
like a
TikTok.
tiny shot. Like, yeah, I don't drink with you that much anymore. I'm just gonna pound the shot right now.
Yeah, that's the TikTok clip right there.
Yeah, right. Usually go with the rye or bourbon. Scotch, I do like Scotch, but it's not my favorite thing. Like just casual drinking, I'll drink like the rye or bourbon. So
Yeah,
try
that's
to
way
get
to
something
go.
local too. There's tons of local like distilleries now between Philly and Jersey. So
Yeah, 206 has a distillery that like sometimes if I'm going to work, I work in Trenton. Like I'll
yeah,
pass by it, but their hours are not friendly to my commuting time. But I want to see if I can get over there and grab something.
yeah,
So we'll
There's
see.
I know there's my buddy always goes to Reading Terminal, and he said there's a good whiskey spot there. They have a lot of like different local shit from around PA.
Yeah.
But yeah, any like place, like, even if you go to like any liquor store, you're gonna find something local. So it's like I usually try to get like, if it's like not too pricey, I don't want to spend too much money on a bottle of whiskey, but it's like, if it's like between 35 and $50, like do
That's a
it.
sweet spot, man, because it goes down all the same. If it's good or not, you're gonna drink it just as fast. And then
Yeah, I
sometimes you go a little
mean,
higher than that.
I don't want to drink Old Crow anymore. So it's
Yeah. That
that
gets
was
a
like
little tough.
yeah, dude, Old Crow and Old Granddad and all
I was gonna
that.
say old granddad. That was one of my first. I must have been like, I don't know, 15 or something, my buddy's basement. And we were doing old granddad and watering it down to make it seem like we didn't drink anything. And they were some of the worst hangovers and, again, worst life decisions.
Well, you said watering it down like so people wouldn't know you drank, like the people wouldn't know
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So he was like,
Your
his
parents would
parents'
know you
bar or
drank.
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, they'd have like a marked or whatever. And like we were so smart. They're like, oh, we'll pour half of this and just water the rest of it up. And of course they'll never know. And the next time they went to pour it, they're like, what the fuck?
I mean, looks wise, you're gonna tell a little bit more bourbon if you know what bourbon looks like, but like with vodka and shit, you really wouldn't. But
Yeah. But as a 15-year-old, we were brilliant. We're like, hey, this is what we're
we
gonna
did.
do.
We had. I used to do the same shit. I remember
Yeah.
probably like fucking 12, 13 years old at my buddy's house watching the Super Bowl. His parents were somewhere. I don't know what the fuck we were there alone, but we're like sipping like whatever they had. And I just remember just being disgusting. I'm like, I don't like this shit.
Yeah.
That's like I fucking love drink. I like the taste of whiskey now. I don't know. It's weird how you get older and it's like one thing I never got into was smoking though. Smoking, I was like, I feel like I tried to smoke a cigarette when I was younger, coughed up my lungs. I'm like, fuck this, dude. I'm never smoking Virginia Slims in my life again.
That's a smart way to go, man. I'll have a cigar every once in a while. I go on the golf course, I'll have a couple of cigars, but for the most part, I don't want to do it in front of the kids. I don't want them smelling it on me.
Nah, dude, it's like so. My fiddle player lives on top of Bonnie's Capistrano, and it's still a smoking bar. So anytime I go to pick him up, I got to go. Like he's usually at the bar having a shot. So I walk in, I'm like, "Where?" I'm picking Tony up. Where's he at? He's at the end of the bar smoking a cigarette and like doing a shot of whiskey. And I'm like, you walk out of there, you just smell like smoke. And I'm like, God damn, how the fuck did we live like this back in the day? I just remember being in bars, in my 20s and like going home and just stripping down and getting a shower because you just smell like cigarettes head to toe, or you're so hammered you get home and pass out and you wake up and your whole fucking room smells like cigarettes.
Those next day showers are the worst. As soon as the water hits your hair, it's like in your eyes, and you're like, "Oh my god, it's fucking terrible."
I used to work at a bar called Medusa Lounge on like where the hell was that at? It was like right off of Chestnut. I think it was like 21st or 20th and like off of Chestnut. It was like a little down basement bar. And there was like no fucking windows. And we're bartending and people were smoking. And it's just we had to blow a fan out the door because it was just like I don't know how we didn't get black lung from being in there. It was so bad.
It's funny if you end up somewhere now that is a smoking bar. So you're saying pick up your buddy Tony, and like you walk into a Jersey bar and it's fine, you're good to go. And then you walk into a smoking one, you're just like so repulsed. You're just like, what? Oh, what who's smoking? And it takes you a minute to be like, oh, different states, different laws.
Well, we went to France, dude. Everybody smoked. Everybody smokes still. I mean, some places, I guess you like. I don't feel like anybody's smoking in the restaurants we were in, but like people smoke constantly on the streets. Of like, I was like saying like, I never been to France, but it reminded me so much of my childhood. It was like a nostalgic smell. It smelled like fucking shitty perfume and cigarettes, like my house did when I was younger. Like,
Mom, are you here? Mom,
mom, are you in France?
Yeah.
Patty, where's Patty at? Is she here?
Yeah.
But yeah, but we went to Iceland, and Iceland was fucking beautiful, dude. It was just like it felt like you were on Mars. I don't know if you ever been there or not, but it was like
I haven't been to Iceland, no, but I've heard how beautiful it is and like out of this world. There's also like there was all these earthquakes that were happening. Were there earthquakes happening while you were there?
yeah, dude, it happened when we were there. It started happening 2 days before we left, and we're like, "Fuck, are we gonna get stuck here?" And then it was like, "All right, we got out of here. Now we're gonna get stuck in France because we got to fly back to." We got to fly back to Iceland for our layover. So we were like, all right, what the fuck are we going to do? So we're like half-ass planning doing something else. I'm like, oh, why don't we just go to Normandy and we'll stay there for a few days till it calms down if it happens. But luckily we got out. But it was like one of them, we had like a worry in the back of our mind about it. But it was like where we stayed, we were like, so we went to Reykjavik, the city, the one day, and we, did a few things there. There's a punk rock museum. That was all cool. But on the way there was like this little section where there was like some seismic activity. They had the steam coming out and all that stuff. And like, oh, this is pretty cool. And it seemed really active. And it was like around the time when all that shit was going on. But we didn't feel any earthquakes. We didn't but like the day we were leaving, the guy driving us in the van back to the airport, he was like, did you guys feel earthquakes last night? We're like, we were in Selfoss, like an hour away from the main where it was happening at. I was like, no, we didn't feel anything. He goes, yeah, because I live right here and I felt them woke me up out of my sleep last night. I'm like, oh shit. So yeah, they were happening when we were there, and like, we were worried about getting stuck, but we got out, and it was long story short, it was a fucking beautiful place, man. It was just like, it felt like you were on another planet because it was like a lot of flat landscape. You don't see a lot of trees and shit like that, but there's like waterfalls everywhere. It's like, it just the craziest thing about that too is like I didn't see one fucking cop there. I didn't hear a siren. I didn't hear anything. It was like, and where we stayed like a while outside, like an hour outside of the city. So it was super quiet, super secluded. Like all you could hear is the wind at night. It was like fucking, we saw the Northern Lights. So that was cool. We got that at the last
That's
night.
awesome, man.
Luckily we got that. But it was like, you go into the main city and I'm like, do they even have cops in Iceland? I was like, you look it up and I'm like, they have cops, but they don't carry guns or anything. And it's like, it's like the crime rate in Iceland is so fucking low. It's like ridiculously low. And it's like, holy shit. And then you get to France and it's like sirens everywhere. Like dudes holding ARs walking around buildings. And like, you're like, all right, you're back in the city, man. This is fucked up. Like, but
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, we got a good taste of like what it's like not to live in a city and like not to be like, but it was France is beautiful, man. The architecture is awesome. It's like we loved it. The kids loved it. We had a great time. Like we might have to eat one. Me and the wife got a date night because the in-laws were watching the kids one night. But the kids were great. Like dude, taking us. So we're there with two people in their 70s, a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. And you can imagine how crazy that could be with them two dynamics. And like me and my wife are just like fucking like wrangling the kids, we're wrangling the in-laws. We're like, all right, like it's just
Everyone's
the whole
wandering off. You're like, guys,
yeah,
stay
yeah.
together.
Dude, it's more. It was my father-in-law who's wandering off. We lost him. Motherfucker doesn't carry a cell phone, so we got to find him in France. Like we're by the Eiffel Tower. It's crowded as shit, and like this dude's like wandering somewhere. Like, and then his wife follows him, so we lose my mother-in-law too. So we're like, what the fuck? And my wife's like super like mild manner, like just like like super nice about everything. Doesn't yell. She got so pissed. And like I'm watching the kids. We're at the one train stop where we thought they were going to. They were walking that way. Then they end up going the other way for some reason. I don't know. My wife finds them finally in the subway. All these French people are around there. She starts fucking screaming at them. She's like, "What the fuck are you doing? You like, we got two little ones with us. You guys fucking wander off." And she's screaming. She's yelling at like fucking these French people. Like it's fucking Americans, man. Like it's like screaming, being obnoxious. But like we found them and everything was fine after that. But after that, I had, it's like one of the things I feel like I have to like talk to her dad. I'm like a kid sometimes. I'm like, dude, you can't walk away from us, bud. It's like,
Yeah.
like
Find a buddy, hold hands. We got to stick together.
Start putting a leash around them like they do with the kids in school.
Hey man, that's a good idea. Hey, can't pass up on that.
But dude has like arthritis. He's like his legs, like he was like an avid like cyclist his whole life. He had to get a pacemaker put in a few years ago, so he can't cycle anymore. So he rides a kayak, he does a kayak, he goes for like little walks and stuff like that. So he can't, but he was like, I think it was his 73rd or 74th birthday. I rode 35 miles with him up in North Jersey, but he would ride his age in miles. He did it up until he was about 72 or 73, until the doctor told him they couldn't. But biking with that dude when he was 74, I felt like I was biking with a fucking 18-year-old. He was flying. I'm like, and we going down these crazy hills up in North Jersey. I'm like, I'm breaking and shit. I'm like, dude, hold up. I'll be right with you. Yeah. And going uphill certain spots, I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack. I'm like, Jesus, dude, how do you do this? But he's in like for like a 77-year-old dude's in pretty good shape, and he's just like, but normal things that come with aging, like the arthritis and all this shit, starting to catch up to him. And when we were in France, it was just like he's hobbling around like on like limping, and like, but he's still like going fast. Like I'm like, then he's complaining how much pain he's in the next day. I'm like, yeah, because you're not taking your time and you're like running ahead. He keeps like, I don't understand why you guys can't keep up. I'm like, dude, we have two little kids with us who want to see this place. Yeah. And they're running the other way, doing their thing. My daughter's doing cartwheels and shit. Like she wants to do a cartwheel in front of the Eiffel Tower. My son's like doing his thing. And then he's like, it's just a whole like.
That's awesome, man.
We made it back. It was fun.
So would you go back or no? Would you take, or maybe like the in-laws don't come?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, we would definitely go back. I would like, listen, man, I love my in-laws. They're awesome people and they love to travel. Like, I don't get that with my family. My mom and my stepdad don't really, go anywhere outside of like, when they travel, it's to the fucking casino, Yeah. You're like one of them families. And I love my mom and my stepdad, but it's like, it's like the two different dynamics. It's like, they're the more chill, like we'll just stay local. And my in-laws are like, we need to travel everywhere. We need to finish doing what we started when we were younger, because they've been traveling with my wife since she was little. Like she's been to France, my wife's been to Australia twice, like South America, I mean like South Africa, like I don't think I would have never like, I'm glad we ended up together, because it was like I don't think I would have ever made it out of the US. But like with her, it's like beginning our relationship was like St. Lucia, our honeymoon was like Ireland, Venice, Italy, we've been mostly all over the US. It's like, and then we went to Iceland and Paris, and it's just been like, we can't do it all the time because of money and shit like that. But it's like, sometimes her dad wants to foot the bill and take us everywhere, so we fucking do it.
I'm available, like shit.
I'm in, dude. But he's, he's older, he's retired, and he's just like, he wants to see the rest of the world, or as much as he could see, at the end of his life. So, but
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I'm getting death threat texts from my wife because it's late night in the coach household, so I do have to wrap it up.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm gonna get that soon too.
Yeah.
So.
Where can people find you? What is the best way to get in touch with you? What's coming up? What's going on?
All right, so you can find me on Instagram, Rusty Pigeon _ Same thing, Spotify. You can find anywhere, any streaming you can find. I'm on. Like I should be for the most part. iTunes, all that stuff. Rusty Pigeon. Just put a new EP out called Dead Broke Street. Got the idea from when we were in South Dakota. I actually found a street. It's called Dead Broke Street. So I was like, that's a cool picture. I want to fucking do that. My friend Frank Chappelle did the artwork. He did a fucking killer job. It was from a picture I took, but he drew my truck in the artwork. So it was like, it worked out. But yeah, what I got coming up is I'm going to try to do a full length eventually. I want to try to get it done this year. I want to do a video for El Wingador, which I have the idea for it. It's just a matter of me talking to people. It's going to involve the mummers, hopefully, because my mummers brigade that I haven't watched with them in a couple of years, they're called Molly Whoppers. The one year we would always do like, we were wench comics, but we wore like the dresses, and we used to wear wrestling masks. Every year we did a luchador mask. The one year we had a chicken mask, and I want to bring that back for the video. I want to do a video, everybody wearing like the luchador chicken mask, and do the El Wingador video. So maybe in the back of Second Street Brew House, which is one of my favorite bars in Philly, or like maybe the top of Tattooed Moms, or somewhere like we could have a space for a little bit and just kind of go fucking ape shit and just
man,
throw fucking beers all over the place and just get nuts. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, we probably have some shows coming up with Josh Alvarez soon. Hopefully get to play with Cross Keys again eventually. If anybody listening to this, go check out the Blackburns, who my bass player, it's his new band, Riverside Odds, Ginger's band, my drummer's band, and Tony Jeter's in a band called Citizen Riot, who are fucking amazing. Banjo, fiddle, fucking guitar, folky, punky kind of stuff. So
that's right up my alley, man. I have to check those guys out.
Dude, it's fucking. I don't know if they recorded anything yet, but like their TC Cole, who is the front man of the band, is like incredible voice, dude. Like he does a lot of covers when they play out. Sometimes they'll do like bigger shows where he has to do some covers, but he's like, he could fucking play anything. He does like anything from like David Allan Coe to like fucking the Pogues to like Dead Milkmen and shit like that. So it's like he's all over the board, So I think that was it. Like I don't know, did I miss something? I don't know.
Yeah, well, whatever, man. You hit me up. I'll throw in the show notes. We'll get it going. But they'll follow you on social media. They'll see all your updates. Joe, I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime. I'm here for more updates. We need to expand on the Iceland and the Paris stories. We got a lot more to cover, man. But thank you.
Next time I'll come hang out at the house, dude. We'll drink some whiskey or something,
Fuck yeah, dude. That's what it's all about.
Come over here too, dude. You can come hang out. We got a spot here. Lit a fire in the backyard. Put back some whiskey and just talk shit.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate it. Dude, you have a good night.
Thank you again for letting me do this.
Thank you so much. Have a good night. All right, everyone. That was our show. Don't forget to leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you stream your podcast. Like and follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date in all things wild and weird. Check out the links in the show notes for more information on our guests. The biggest support you can offer is to tell everyone about the podcast. Until next time.